Electric Light Tour 2024. Live in Atlantic City. Ovation Hall and Ocean Casino Resort, Friday, November 1st. Get tickets now at theoceanac.com. Lenny Kravitz, the brand new album, Blue Electric Light, is available everywhere now. For more, visit LennyKravitz.com.
South Jersey's official play-by-play home of the Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers.
At 0 point would I ever consider not being a fan of the team.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig.
That's good!
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
And he scored!
Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Josh Hennig.
Not much swing and miss, and he needs to be swing and miss, and he needs to be soft contact, which he was early, but got away from him. But he certainly needs to have more swing and miss than he's getting.
Is there a possibility that there's a different role for him in the bullpen? Is that part of will that be part of your discussion?
Sure.
Well, less than 24 hours later, Taijuan Walker has been relegated to the Phillies bullpen. We'll get into all that more coming up this hour on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Eagles had to make some interesting roster moves today as well. We'll get into the impact of that. Plus, we'll be talking college football. Week 1 starts tonight. You can hear North Carolina versus Minnesota right here on 97.3 ESPN. We'll be talking with ESPN betting analyst. You used to hear her here on 97.3 ESPN on the BetQL morning show during the football season. Now she has joined ESPN.com as one of their betting analysts. Pam Maldonado will join us in less than 20 minutes from now. As always, you guys can join the conversation at 609-403-0973, as well as your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. So let's get into some of the details here of what we know so far. Okay. So I'm going to get the Philly stuff out of the way because I'm not going to sit here and waste a ton of everyone's time on the Taijuan Walker thing. Look, the Taijuan Walker situation has been resolved. And even though it's not ideal for a guy who can't get swing and miss to be in the bullpen, they were not in a position to just eat the money. And I asked Mike Gill on the Sports Bash earlier, is Walker's abilities diminished because of his injuries? And, it's hard to say, a guy like Walker with the blisters and a few other injuries, it's a really tough situation for a guy like him. But my question now is, we know what the plan is. The plan is that Walker's in the bullpen. You're not going to go with the fifth starter like you were planning on originally. And now you're going to flip the script and say, who fills that void with Walker being relegated? Because, look, the stats out there, folks. The Phillies have lost 9 straight starts by Taijuan Walker. He has gone from your winningest pitcher in 2023 to your most losing pitcher in 2024. Well, we got to see what's going on with Turnbull. I want to know if Turnbull is going to be able to come back next month and if he will be back in time for that Saturday, September 6th start for, September 7th start for Philadelphia. The other option is Tyler Phillips. I'm going to assume that Tyler Phillips could even be called up as soon as this weekend because remember the rule was if you send the guy down the minors, he gets to be down for at least 15 days. So Kelby Allard would not be allowed to come back up in time for what would have been Taijuan Walker's next start. So unless Turnbull is going to come back sometime soon, I'm going to assume it's going to be Turnbull or Phillips who gets the next Walker start. And at the end of the day, the Philadelphia needs to get through the next few days. And I do have a controversial question to ask based on what Rob Thompson said about the importance of this 4-game series with the Atlanta Braves.
They're important, obviously. don't know how much more important, but I always say that you got to win at home and you got to win in your division. If you want to win a division title, you got to win inside your division at home. So it's a big series.
He said to know how important it is. I thought that was a very interesting anecdote by the Phillies manager. Not because I think he was being tongue-in-cheek. I think he was being dead serious. You look at what the Phillies had done against the Braves the last 3 seasons. They're 3-6 against them this year. They're 5-8 last season, and they were 8-11 in 2022. But the Phillies are 6-2 against them in the postseason. So does beating Atlanta this weekend really matter in the long run? I'm not going to belittle it. I'm not going to act like it doesn't mean anything. But if you're the Phillies, you do want to get that home field advantage. You want to have that opportunity to play as many games at home as possible, because the Philadelphia Phillies are arguably the best team in baseball at home. They've won 6 of their last 8 home games. They are 44-24 record at Citizens Bank Park. They have the most home wins of any team in baseball. They're tied with the Dodgers. They both have the same record. No one's got a better record than them and the Dodgers. Only 3 American League teams have 40 or more wins at home: the Royals, the Guardians, and the Mariners. Yankees are trying to get into that category right now. Phillies' run differential at home has been incredible this year. And the difference between the home and road differential, it's almost 75 points. It's a ridiculous just drop off between what they do on the road and at home. So to me, winning games versus Atlanta this weekend is less about beating Atlanta than it is about making sure you maintain the best record in the National League. Because you can split the difference with Atlanta and still walk out of here with your head held high. Tonight, it's Sanchez versus Morton. Tomorrow, it's Suarez for his second start coming off of injury versus Renato Lopez. And the interesting Saturday start, Wheeler versus Fried, the first lefty the Phillies have seen in over a week. And then Sunday, you get to see Schwellenbach again. And Schwellenbach shut you down last time against Aaron Nola is coming off of a very good start against the Astros. So Philadelphia's got to find 2 wins in that 4-game stretch. And if they can win the game tonight, it certainly takes some pressure off of them. I think they can win the game tonight, and I think they can win one more game. I think that they can get out of this series with a split against Atlanta. You then have a stretch of games where you just need to keep winning series. You go to Miami, you win that series. You come home against Tampa, you win that series. So that way, by the time you get against the New York Mets at home on September 13th, you're not in a position where you're being desperate. Because again, home field advantage matters for Philadelphia probably more than almost any team in baseball. All right, let's get to the Eagles news here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a Thursday. Don't forget, coming up in 10 minutes from now, Pam Maldonado, ESPN.com betting analyst and college football analyst, will join us coming up here in just a bit. I mentioned I want to get to the Eagles news. Okay. The Eagles news is fascinating to me because James Bradbury has now been injured for the second time in practice this calendar year. Remember, in minicamp, he injured himself backpedaling. Now he injured himself, and he'll be out 6 to 8 weeks. He was put on the injured list. So he is going to miss, it looks like, half the season. Now, Philadelphia is having to make roster moves. And I got to admit, the roster moves that they have made in response to Bradbury going on injured reserve shocked me. And I'm not the only person who's surprised. They have promoted linebacker Oren Burks to the active roster. They signed Brett Toth to the practice squad while placing Bradbury on the injured reserve. So they don't bring up a third tight end. They don't bring up a backup center. So now Philadelphia has to use the 2 practice squad promotions for backup center and either back a third string tight end or a secondary receiver. Now, they could go a couple of different ways. Toth got the majority of the second team snaps for Philadelphia in training camp and in the preseason. That's one direction they can go in. Another direction they can go in is if they decide that they want to go with Nick Gates. Okay. I think either option has positives and negatives to it. Brett Toth is a very below average center in terms of snapping the ball. He's a very good center when it comes to just all around blocking and versatility. So there's that one side. I think Nick Gates is probably the guy who's better at snapping the ball, but I think Gates is probably at this point in his career a better run blocker than a pass blocker. So it really comes down to, what does Jeff Stoutland think of these guys, right? What does Jeff Stoutland think about these types of players, and how does that translate into an emergency situation where Cam Jurgens goes down? On the flip side, you have the question about tight end or receiver. Because right now, if A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith go down with an injury, well, who's coming in for them? Well, the person who's coming in for them is going to be Jahan Dotson moving from the slot to the outside, then Britton Covey in the slot. It might be better to have Paris Campbell as a game day call-up. But on the flip side, if you call up either an E.J. Jenkins or a Jack Stoll from the practice squad to be the third tight end, that could help special teams. So the Eagles are still doing a lot of roster manipulating or roster shuffling. But then there's another surprise move that happened earlier today, because Philadelphia had reportedly really liked Marlon Tuipulotu. He has been a popular guy, but he lost his ascension up the roster because Thomas Booker performed so well in training camp. Well, now Tuipulotu has been released because the Eagles claimed former Alabama defensive tackle Byron Young off waivers. So now it's going to be interesting. Philadelphia is already shuffling their D-line. They're already shuffling their roster as they prepare for less than 7 days of flying down to Brazil. And the players have already been told you they're not thrilled about it. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see another move or two before we get to Brazil. And you hear the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. The Hall of Famer, Merrill Reese, and Mike Quick calling all the action here on your home for Eagles football in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN. We are also your home for college football all weekend long. And joining me next will be ESPN.com betting expert and college football analyst Pam Maldonado joins me here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a Thursday night.
Hey, South Jersey, this is Billy Schwein. Tune into The Locker Room every Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN. Each weekend in The Locker Room, you will get passionate sports talk from a fan's perspective, along with interviews with some of the biggest names in sports. That's every Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to noon in The Locker Room with me, Billy Schwein, on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, because nothing could be finer than talking sports with a Schweiner.
With GMF financing to qualified buyers excludes Traverse and Corvette excludes prior sales.
It's Bennett Chevy's end of summer blowout. Hurry in now for deals you can't find anywhere else. Our best deals of the year. Like $500 below GM supplier employee prices on new Chevys. Yes, you pay $500 less than our employees pay. Plus, Bennett gives you all the rebates. That could save you up to 10% on your new Chevy. Save even more with available 0.9% financing. And Bennett Chevy is South Jersey's EV headquarters with a great selection of EVs, hybrids, SUVs, and Chevy trucks. And right now, we're paying a whopping 10 grand minimum for any old trade. We don't care if it runs, just get it here. That's at least $10,000 for total junk towards any pre-owned in stock. Imagine how much we'll pay for a good trade. And our non-commissioned sales team is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. So you'll love your no-hassle, no-haggle experience. Together, let's drive at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
At Atlantic Cape Community College, they believe a quality education should be affordable and accessible to everyone. They offer programs in business, liberal arts, STEM, nursing, aviation, culinary arts, and more, with flexible online and in-person classes starting this Tuesday. Visit atlanticcape.edu/register today. In addition, the Center for Transition Success at Atlantic Cape is helping high school graduates of Atlantic and Cape May counties, ages 18 to 24, with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Whether you are beginning college, looking for workforce training, or want to go right to work, the Center for Transition Success is here to guide you every step of the way. Visit atlanticcape.edu/transition success to learn more. Get an affordable, quality education at Atlantic Cape Community College. Visit atlanticcape.edu/register today. The Center for Transition Success is funded by the County College-based Center for Adult Transition Grant, administered by the New Jersey Office of the Secretary of Higher Education.
Right now at Wendy's, you can get a small Frosty for $1, and literally everyone is going. The car behind you, going to get a $1 Frosty. The car ahead of you, already had one, going for a second. The person who cut you off earlier, you guessed it, $1 Frosty. Maybe it's all a sign for you to go get one. Just don't cut anyone off. No one likes that person. The iconic Frosty for $1, gotta be Wendy's.
Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's. Not valid in a combo. Prices may be higher in Alaska, Hawaii, California, and via third-party delivery.
Save thousands at Matt Blatt Kia. Get out of your old trade today, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Go to mattblattkianj.com for more details. That's mattblattkianj.com.
It's gotta be a
Matt Blatt Kia.
Powered by the all-new BetParks New Jersey Casino and Sportsbook app. BetParks.com. This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Walker's woes continue. I'm Nick Earnshaw with your South Jersey Sports Center and with your 97.3 ESPN question of the day. The Phillies had plenty of issues with their fifth starter this year, whether it be injuries or Taijuan Walker not performing up to his contract. With that being said, our 97.3 ESPN question of the day is, who do you blame more for the Phillies' roster concerns and the hot and cold offense, Dombrowski or Rob Thompson? Let us know by texting 609-403-0973 or use the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. I think you got to go with Dave Dombrowski at this point. Rob Thompson, he can only do so much. He can't perform for the players. He can put them in positions to win. But Dave Dombrowski created the roster. They didn't make a ton of moves in the offseason. Essentially, the same team came back. They didn't go after Brent Rooker from the Oakland A's at the trade deadline. They could have done a lot more than Austin Hayes and maybe brought in another starting pitcher. So I'm going to blame it on the roster construction. Once again, text it at 609-403-0973. Your forecast is next.
From playtime to showtime, Atlantic City always serves classic summer fun with a twist of cool. Visit AtlanticCityNJ.com to win an overnight getaway.
Good afternoon with your South Jersey weather forecast. I'm Joe Kelly. It's kind of been a cloudy day for the most part here. We're going to see clouds continue tonight, maybe a storm late in the night tonight, a low temperature of 66. Tomorrow, the forecast calls for scattered showers and thunderstorms with a high of 74. As of right now, the outlook for the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, highs each day in the 80s. The only chance of rain right now is for early Sunday morning. That's your South Jersey weather forecast. Have a good evening. I'm Joe Kelly.
No longer qualify for New Jersey Family Care? You may be eligible for quality, affordable health plans through Get Covered New Jersey that cover doctor visits, prescriptions, and more. 9 in 10 enrolling qualify for financial help. Learn more at getcovered.nj.gov.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Before we check back in on the text board at 609-403-0973 and your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle, we got to bring in our guest because Pam Maldonado, used to hear her here on 97.3 ESPN as part of the BetQL morning show during the football season, but now she is with ESPN.com sports betting analyst, and she joins us now here on 97.3 ESPN's Game Night. Pam, welcome in. How you doing today?
So dang excited for college football, aren't we all?
Absolutely. So here's where I want to start with you, because, when I've been doing this with the audience, I mean, literally have texters texting in when they heard you were coming on saying, give me the football picks. Like, I already got people chiming in. So before we actually talk about any actual picks, every year there's always a team, Pam, that you look at and you're like, I just like this team, and I feel like I almost have to bet on or games with this team. Is there a team or teams like that for you this college football season?
There are quite a few, and I am going to be, you know what? Let me stick to the Big 12 because I'm a Big 12 girl. I'm in Texas. One of the teams that I'm super excited about is Rock Chalk Jayhawk, baby. I love Kansas. They finished 9-3 last year and had their first bowl win since 2008. Lance Leipold, he is one of the best college football coaches, not just in the country right now, but I would say over the last few years, he's proven himself to be one of the best. He's in his fourth season. And what makes him so great is that he kind of really is the type of coach that just sticks to the basics. Give me the fundamentals, execute with perfection, and that's exactly what Kansas does. And they got playmakers on that team, one of which is quarterback Jalen Daniels. The problem is, and this is why Kansas continues to go underrated every year, Daniels needs to stay healthy. He is such a dangerous player when he can use his legs because he's at full health. If he can go ahead and stay healthy throughout the season, they maintained their running back in Devin Neal. He progressed 700 yards as a freshman, broke 1,000 yards as a sophomore. This team can be absolutely bananas in a season where everything has changed and realignment. It's a very strong roster with a really great coach, a fairly easy, manageable schedule. I think Kansas can have a really great season, and I wouldn't be surprised if they can continue with health all season long, be potentially in the Big 12 title game.
It's interesting you mentioned that because a lot of people, you know how they love about bet futures, right? Everybody sees the future odds, and you're talking about Kansas. Does the college football playoff expansion, does the changing of how these conferences, does that change how you look at betting futures? Because you're saying you like Kansas, but does that mean you like Kansas to win the Big 12? That might not be the same thing.
So if anybody who likes tennis betting, I'm going to relate this to tennis betting. I'm going to say the answer is no. It doesn't really change my mind as far as the college football expansion. There's a lot of players I like in tennis in a major to make the quarterfinals. I think they have solid games. They can make it into the second week. But just because I think they can win their quarter doesn't mean I think they can win the entire tournament. And the same is said for college football. There's a lot of teams, because of this expansion, that are going to have potential to make it into the 12-team playoff. Now, do I think they can pull upsets when you start playing against the big boys? Once you start breaking it down further into the playoff scenario, the answer is probably not. So I love Kansas. If you're doing a futures bet, go ahead and wager on them to potentially win in the Big 12 title, but I wouldn't necessarily be sprinkling on them to win the national championship.
Not to be a spoiler, but Paul just won the first set of his matchup with Purcell over my shoulder here in the studio.
Hey, there you go. We need the Americans to show up.
I got to make sure I get away from tennis because half the audience will probably turn off the radio. Probably you and I are the only people who actually care in this conversation. Pamela Maldonado joining us here on 97.3 ESPN at Pamela M35 to give her a follow on Twitter X platform and all of her coverage of the college football betting season at ESPN.com. All right. So then with that being said, big picture, what then is a better bet for the audience? Is it for a team to make the playoff or is it a team to win a conference?
That's very interesting. I would say probably win the conference, because if they are winning the conference, they're in the playoffs. So that's a good question. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going with the basics. If you get the bare minimum, now I'm going to relate this to golf betting. Everything is related. I will take a top 20. I will take a player to finish in the top 20 at plus odds, and I will not risk on the factor of them finishing in the top 10. Same can be said about college football. I will take them whatever basic odds you're getting. If you're getting plus money on them to win the conference, it's probably a lot more of a chance than them making the playoffs, because we have different conferences. You still have the SEC that potentially could get 2 teams in there. I'm going to go ahead and go with win the conference.
All right. Everybody loves to talk about all year long, Pam, is Heisman Trophy odds. And I know going in right now, if I pull up the ESPN bet app, It's got Dylan Gabriel at plus 600 right now, but is he the best bet to win the Heisman?
That's a tough one. I'm going to go with, I want to say yes. I love Dylan Gabriel for Oregon. I think he's complementary into the system they already have. He's used to high octane offense. He's been in college football forever. It feels like he's entering his sixth season, and he's one of the best mobile quarterbacks that we have in the country. I'm going to go ahead and pivot though. And I hate to do it because this is going to sound like a homer. And I don't love, personally, I am a Longhorn, hook 'em horns. I don't love Quinn Ewers as a quarterback. However, from a betting perspective, there's value on Ewers from Texas to win the Heisman. Texas has a fairly easy schedule for considering it's an SEC schedule in their first season as an SEC team, but they don't really face competition. You're getting a very depleted Michigan team, and then you don't really face challenges until you have Georgia midseason. Outside of that, Texas has a really solid schedule that they can navigate through, should find plenty of wins. They have one of the best coaches in the country in Coach Stark. Quinn Ewers has developed, and we have quarterback depth in case anything happens. And that's the other thing. Depth comes into play. We do have depth at the running back position. So I think there's a really good chance that the keys to the castle are in the hands of Ewers if he can stay healthy and just maintain any type of consistency throughout the season.
So here's where I'm going to disagree with you. So my favorite pick to win the Heisman is actually Will Howard at plus 1,600 because he's got Chip Kelly in his ear. He's at Ohio State. It's literally a plug and play situation. And you know how these Heisman Trophy winners, they seem to be all mobile quarterbacks now. They don't usually seem to be stationary guys. And we know from play at Kansas State, I mean, I wish I could go Jackson Dart. I really wish I could, but there's still that like dark cloud in the back of my mind that always looks at Ole Miss and wonders, can they ever get over that, that little edge, that little cliff to get to the top. So for me, I got to say Will Howard.
You know what? I just posted an Instagram reel and I was laughed at because I had Will Howard in there as one of my top 3 quarterbacks in the country. Now, he's not going to be a name. Howard is not a name that you think, oh, Heisman. He's not a name that you think of popularity in everybody's household, but I guarantee you that probably mid-season, he will be. He has that mobility factor that you were talking about, which is absolutely crucial, not just for modern-day football, college football, but yeah, if you want to have that Heisman opportunity, you need to be able to put up some numbers, just as we saw from Jaden Daniels in the passing game and in the run game. He's also a player that's been in college forever. He took K-State to the Big 12 title 2 years ago. Now you're with the Buckeyes, who's retained a lot of its offensive production. They're number 2 in the rankings. Howard in his 5th year as a quarterback, 16-1 is where you can get him right now. That is very intriguing for me on a team that is expected to absolutely not even just be in the playoff, but be contending for the national title.
Great minds think alike. Pam Maldonado joining me here on 97.3 ESPN. Pam, a couple more before I let you go. I want to hit on a couple actual games because, our audience, they're going to be listening to the games here on 97.3 ESPN. Maybe they want to jump on the ESPN bet app and do a little wagering. So let's start with tonight. I got to admit, I have no feel for the game tonight. UNC versus Minnesota. What is your perspective on that game?
This game is going to feature a lot of key players like Omarion Hampton for North Carolina, who's a top rusher. He had over 1,500 yards last season. On the Minnesota side, you have Max Brosmer. He's a transfer quarterback. That's going to be pivotal in trying to revitalize their offense, who lost a lot of key parts. I really do think that Minnesota's running back is also expected to make Darius Taylor. He's also expected to make a significant impact after a strong injury-limited previous season. Because of the ground and pound, my best bet would probably, I should say best bet, my leans on this would definitely be taking the under. I think it's going to be a ground game, 2 brand new offenses from both schools. So they're going to rely heavily on the ground and pound.
All right, so we're not going best bet. We're just going lean. You're leaning the under. Saturday here on 97.3 ESPN, we will be airing Penn State versus WVU. I will warn you, Pam, this area in South Jersey is full of both Penn State and WVU alumni.
Yeah, I'm going to have to I'm going to have to go with Penn State here. They have one of the best defenses in the country, and every year we've seen it. They kind of destroy opponents not named Ohio State. So as long as that continues to be the case, I do have question marks about quarterback Drew Aller. But you know what? Maybe this is the year that he finally gets a jump. On the West Virginia side, you have Garrett Green, and that's a player that I'm very much looking forward to over 2,400 passing yards. But he's going to be crucial in the passing game, except you're going up against one of the best secondaries in Penn State. So I would expect him, if there was actually a play to make in Penn State, West Virginia, I would take the Garrett Green over rushing yards. He should have trouble in the passing game, and he's going to have to hit the ground running if he wants to make any playmaking ability. And right now, his yardage is sitting at around 49 yards. Excuse me? That is way too low for somebody who had nearly 800 rushing yards last season. So I would be taking that as a player prop as the best bet as opposed to trying to back it ahead.
Selfishly, I'm asking you about this game. I want to know your thoughts on the orange and blue versus the orange and green. I'm talking about Florida versus Miami. Probably an underrated college football rivalry when you think about it.
Yeah, Miami's looking at a lot of new key. It's another team where you're looking at a lot of new key parts. Florida, you have Graham Mertz, running back Trevor Etienne, who's expected to not play or see limited production. This is just a game that Miami is a slight favorite, as it should be. It really could be a true 50-50 game. Miami has a very strong offensive line and new talent that can exploit Florida's weaknesses. So I'm going to have to lean to I'm going to have to lean to Miami getting the short favorite and lay the 2.5 points with them.
Yeah, the Mertz versus Ward matchup is going to be fascinating. Finally, before I let you go, Pam Maldonado, let's go back to Texas really quick. Talk to me about Notre Dame with Riley Leonard versus his former coach, Elko, down at Texas A&M. I know for you, Texas A&M, that's not a friendly spot for you, but are you feeling them in this game?
I'm very much looking forward to this game. Notre Dame is one of the teams that I think can have a stellar season, and A&M is coming in with a lot of new parts. But I'm going to have to lean to the over on this. Over 46.5 would be my prediction for this. I think there's a lot of love for these defenses and a lot of undervalue when it comes to the offense. Duke transfer quarterback Riley Leonard, he can now take advantage of A&M's depleted unit, expected to lead Notre Dame's offense. Also another quarterback that we love. Why? Because he's another dual threat capability. Leonard last year in 7 games, he was so effective. He's 6'4", and yet he is so fast, and he makes sharp cuts, and he is able to evade the defenders and extend the plays. I'm very much looking forward to seeing Riley Leonard come back into action, show us what he is made of. He's one of the best mobile quarterbacks in the country, and Aggies have a new quarterback, not a new quarterback, but they have returning quarterback Connor Wegman, also can contribute to the game total. He's a former 5-star recruit. He has a high level of accuracy. He has a solid touch, really solid with reading the defenses. And both units, Notre Dame and Texas A&M, have lost a lot of key contributors on the defense. So I think we're going to see a lot of a more up-tempo offense. Both teams changing the defense. There's going to be vulnerabilities that both sides can exploit. I think 46.5, too low.
Give her a follow on Twitter X at Pamela M35. Check out all of her college football. Don't forget about the U.S. Open and golf betting analysis as well at ESPN.com. And if you guys want to lose your money, you can play golf against Pam and she'll steal your money on the golf course, right?
Absolutely. But there's no golf until Super Bowl probably.
Pam, I appreciate you jumping on. We'll talk soon.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. So an interesting dichotomy there between me and Pam for all of you guys listening out there. So let's recap here. She says go under in the UNC Minnesota game. I tend to agree with that, though. I do think that is a smart bet because you're dealing with two teams that are still finding themselves offensively. I disagree with her on Saturday because she's saying go Penn State. I like WVU to cover the 8.5 in that game. I think that WVU is better than people realize. And when it's in Morgantown, I think that matters. I'm a big believer in home field advantage in these situations. She also said, take Miami versus Florida. I tend to agree with her on that, but I also do think the over might be in play because I'm not a fan of either Florida or Miami's defenses, and Graham Mertz versus Cam Ward might be an overplay in that game. She also go over in Notre Dame versus Texas A&M. She said this is way too low of a number, and that's a key point, because how many times I tell you guys, any of you who've been listening to me since the beginning, right? Since 2018, when sports betting became legal and we started giving you picks here on 97.3 ESPN, I've been telling you guys for years, you got to find value. You got to look at the numbers. You got to pay attention to what these people are putting out there. I thought Pam brought up a great point that people are talking so much about these defenses that they're overlooking the offenses. They're overlooking the fact that these are two teams that can put up points. And while Texas A&M might win the game, she's looking at that over-under number and saying that total is too low. And I think that's very fascinating because, again, 46.5 right now at ESPN Bet. So if you're someone who's looking at that number and you say 46, 47.5, and you have two teams that have the potential of having a 32-28 kind of game, you're best going the over. You also heard her in her bias for University of Texas going Quinn Ewers. I'm telling you guys, I like Will Howard. I like quarterbacks who get put into systems. We've seen this in college multiple times with Lincoln Riley, right? You take a quarterback like a Kyler Murray, like a Baker Mayfield, like a Caleb Williams. They win the Heisman. Even Jalen Hurts got plugged in the Lincoln Riley's offense, and he was a Heisman runner-up. So now you look at Chip Kelly going to Ohio State. Ryan Day has given up the play calling responsibilities. He has given it to Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly literally left coaching as a head coach at UCLA to go to Ohio State for the chance to win a national championship. That is a huge deal. So think about it this way. If you are a quarterback coming from Kansas State who is mobile and Will Howard, who was a good quarterback at Kansas State, but he played on a mediocre football team. Now you're going to a team with elite talent, elite receivers, elite offensive line play. Ohio State's defense is actually pretty good too. Now you're on a good team, and a lot of times the good teams have the Heisman Trophy winners. So I do like that 1,600 for Will Howard. And she said you might want to get it now because later in the year, that value may be gone. And then the team that she's watching this year, remember for me, guys, last year it was Navy and Texas State. Those are the two teams that we did a lot of picking of here on 97.3 ESPN. She's saying watch Kansas. So that'll be the team that we keep an eye on throughout the season. So I'll give you my full slate of picks for the games tonight coming up a little bit later here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig live in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios. We'll check back in the text board. Jeff from Ocean City, get to your text and more. 609-403-0973. Your DMs into 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. Phillies back in action tonight against the Atlanta Braves. Part of their 4-game series. But tonight on 97.3 ESPN, North Carolina versus Minnesota to kick off college football week number 1.
Tonight on Compass Media Network's coverage of NCAA football, we kick off the 2024 season with a cross-conference showdown. The Big Ten's Minnesota Golden Gophers host the North Carolina Tar Heels out of the ACC. Hi, it's Greg Daniels. Join Chad Brown and me for all the action as the hunt for the college football playoffs starts now. It's Minnesota hosting North Carolina. If it's NCAA football, it's right here.
On 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7:30.
Go for the endless ocean views and the nonstop entertainment. Go for the lucky whirls and the late night twirls. Go for the gourmet eats and the next level sweets. Go to celebrate. Go to rejuvenate. Go for an escape that's anything but ordinary. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Get big deals for days at Target's long weekend sale.
Let's go.
Like 20% off denim, tees, dresses, and shoes for the family. Then round out your barbecue with Doritos and Ruffles party-sized chips. They're on sale 2 for $7. Or get 30% off 12 packs of soda when you buy 3 with Target Circle. And save even more. Find new lower prices on many grocery and household items you love today and every day. Target's long weekend sale ends Monday. Restrictions apply.
I love it. Joey, let's get some drive-thru.
Yeah, bro. Food. I'm gonna have to ask you to step out of the car, sir.
Joey, let's get some drive-thru, man.
Let's order delivery instead.
If you feel different, you drive different, and driving high is a DUI. If you think no one can tell you're high, think again. Your friends, family, and especially law enforcement can see right through it. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high and get a DUI. Brought to you by NHTSA.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out.
If you're using Viagra or Cialis or have thought about using them, listen up. Zeldy is introducing Zeldy Hardies, new 2-in-1 dissolving tablets that get you ready for action in 15 minutes and keep you ready for up to 48 hours. They contain sildenafil and tadalafil, the active ingredients in Viagra and Cialis, but cost 90% less than those brand names. You heard me right. Using both active ingredients and this quick dissolving mechanism allows sildenafil to work in around 15 minutes, and the tadalafil keeps you ready for up to 48 hours. It's powerful results that cost around 90% less. Text tablet to 200-300 to get started. With Zelty, enjoy fast, free, discreet shipping without the hassle of any awkward, time-wasting visits to the doctor's office. We make access as seamless as possible so you can focus on your life and your love life. Get your free medical review and Zelty Hardies, a new way to treat ED, today. Text tablet to 200-300 now. Don't wait. Text tablet to 200-300 right away. Text tablet to 200-300.
Who doesn't love getting something for free? Labor Day deals have arrived at the Home Depot, and right now you can get a free Milwaukee 18-volt extended capacity battery, $159 value, when you buy a select tool. Get longer runtime and more battery life so you can power all your fall projects. Shop Labor Day deals and get a free battery when you buy a select tool at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Limit 1 per transactions, exclusions apply, full eligible tool list in store and online.
Total Wireless is made to totally keep up with you. We now have unlimited data that never slows you down. Covered by the Verizon 5G network. And for less than $30 a month, we make your phone your ride or die. Switch now and pick a free 5G phone with qualified plan purchase. And your 4th line at no additional cost. Visit your local Total Wireless store today. Total Wireless, we're totally with you. Actual speeds may vary by location. For data management practices, see TotalWireless.com.
At Atlantic Cape Community College, they believe a quality education should be affordable and accessible to everyone. They offer programs in business, liberal arts, STEM, nursing, aviation, culinary arts, and more, with flexible online and in-person classes starting this Tuesday. Visit atlanticcape.edu/register today. In addition, the Center for Transition Success at Atlantic Cape is helping high school graduates of Atlantic and Cape May counties, ages 18 to 24, with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Whether you are beginning college, looking for workforce training, or want to go right to work, the Center for Transition Success is here to guide you every step of the way. Visit atlanticcape.edu/transition success to learn more. Get an affordable, quality education at Atlantic Cape Community College. Visit atlanticcape.edu/register today. The Center for Transition Success is funded by the County College-Based Center for Adult Transition Grant, administered by the New Jersey Office of the Secretary of Higher Education.
Lowe's knows Labor Day calls for big savings. Right now, get up to 40% off select major appliances. Plus, save up to $750 when you buy 2 or more select major appliances priced $396 or more. And My Lowe's Rewards members get 3 bags of premium 2 cubic foot color mulch for just $10. Because Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 9/4 while supplies last. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change. Mulch offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
What's that sound? That's the sound of Downy Unstoppable scent beads going into your washing machine and giving your clothes freshness that lasts all day long. There it is again. It's like music to your ears, or more like music to your nose. That freshness is irresistible. Let's get a Downy Unstoppables bottle shake. And now a sniff solo. Nice. With Downy Unstoppables, you just toss, wash, wow, for all-day freshness.
Hey, it's Mike Gill. I've been telling you about the beautiful MDX I've been driving from Key Acura of Atlantic City. But guess what? The brand new 2025 MDX have just arrived. Between now and August 31st, you can lease a slick 2025 MDX all-wheel drive for just $599 a month with $49.95 down, or lease a 2024 Integra for $299 a month with $49.95 down while they last. Go see Rocco at Key Acura, Tilton Road in EHT, your small but friendly dealer. See dealer for details.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Phillies Braves just started their game. They are top of the first inning. Atlanta is up the bat. If anything happens for the end of the hour, I'll let you know here on 97.3 ESPN. Couple things to get to. I got Jeff from Ocean City. He's chomping at the bit at 609-403-0973. Couple things here. Of course, he loves the Penn State pick by Pam Maldonado on that game. I'm telling you that's the one game that her and I aren't seeing eye to eye on. I am, and I always have been, I always will be a big believer in home field matters in college football, probably more than almost any in sports. Now, Jeff sent in a parlay, and I thought it was interesting because he's asking, should I cash out of either of these bets? All right, so let's look at these real quick. So he's got a parlay of winners: Penn State, Georgia, Oklahoma State, Michigan. I think it's a good parlay. I do think that Penn State probably is going to win the game. I just don't think they cover. So I feel like it's a safe enough parlay to go with, and you're only throwing $10 on it. As I always tell you guys, please bet responsibly. You know, it's one of those things where if you're throwing any significant amount of money on it, you better have a ton of disposable income, or you have a gambling problem and you need to call 1-800-GAMBLER. But if you're someone who has extra, if you have money in your sports betting account and you want to throw $10 on it, it's not the end of the world. I think Georgia beats Clemson. I think it'll probably be close. People think it is. Oklahoma State's probably going to run away from South Dakota State. And then Michigan is probably going to have a slow first half and they'll pull away the second half against Fresno State. Now, the other one I'm a little more uncomfortable about. All right. So he's got Minnesota money line tonight. So we just got the news alert that the Minnesota North Carolina game is going to be delayed by a half hour to an hour. So it was supposed to be about like an 8-something kickoff. Now it's being pushed back to 9 because of the weather. Now they're saying that the weather will be cleared out by then. Does that favor Minnesota or does it favor North Carolina? Is that a situation where you maybe, I would say to Jeff, do you cash out of the Minnesota ticket and flip that to an under game because now the weather is in your favor? Then he also has the over 46.5 Notre Dame, Texas A&M. I thought that was a sneaky, interesting play by Pam that she threw out there. Again, I'm looking at that game more about who is going to win the game, but she pulled a Josh move and she went over under. So she tried to out Josh me on my own show here on 97.3 ESPN. I mean, I'm supposed to be the king of the over-unders, and Pam Maldonado is throwing over-unders at us on my show. She's a perfect fit, obviously, then. She belongs having a football conversation on this show. But on a more serious note, tonight's game, anytime there's bad weather, I love under. So I think that is the move to make. So if I'm Jeff from Ocean City, I'm sitting there, I'm cashing out of the money line, and I'm trying to either go under the number, if it hasn't changed already yet, or if you want to get really frisky, right? It's like the line, I too like to live dangerously. Or depending on what line you want to go. If you're someone who is a Michael Keaton Batman, or are you a Michael Myers Austin Powers fan, right? It's the idea that could you parlay Minnesota to win the game and the game to go under. So either you want to go nuts, let's get nuts, Michael Keaton's Batman, or do you flip it around and go Michael Myers, Austin Powers, and say, I too like to live dangerously. Let me know what your preference is at 609-403-0973. I don't know if I have an exact answer for that. I think that there's a couple different ways you can go with that. Over on the text board here, anonymous texter says, no promoting parlays over here. I'm going Minnesota money line tonight. All right. So that person says, Josh, forget you and Jeff from Ocean City's parlays. We're going to go just straight money line tonight. Look, that's fair. That is more than fair. I don't think you're nuts for saying that. Okay. I'm just a big believer in value. I'm a big believer in finding what the best value is and riding with the value. I think in so many times I see people give out sports betting picks and the value is horrible. And it's like, if you're going to bet your money on something, if you're going to be involved in this environment, right? Never throw your money away. That's all I'm saying. Okay. That's at least how I look at it. I am never going to ask you guys to make a wager or a bet that is going to be a throwaway. That's why I'm a little annoyed. I got the short end of the stick last weekend, right? I went 1-2 over the weekend. I told you guys that I liked Florida State to cover, and they lost the game. Florida State looked like they were still hungover the night before, and Georgia Tech looked like they were ready to play football. Meanwhile, in the Nevada SMU game, I thought Nevada would cover the spread. They did. That's always a plus. But they missed hitting the over by 3 stinking points. You missed the over by 3 points? Come on, man. Come on, man. That's just a bummer right there. I mean, I needed you to get me a field goal or a little bit of points somewhere, and you couldn't get it for me? See, that's what's frustrating sometimes, because when you lean into the over-unders and you stare long enough at those accumulated totals, you start seeing patterns. And I think that the biggest takeaway I had from week 0 was that Florida State is not as good as we thought they were. It doesn't mean they're going to be bad this year. It doesn't mean they can't win the conference. It doesn't mean they can't make the college football playoff. They can win every game moving forward, but they're just not going to be dominant. We overlook so many times in sports that when you have a team that has a lot of transfers coming in, it might take time for them to acclimate, adapt, and learn how to play together. And then when it comes to the SMU Nevada game, I think that we have to be very careful about how good SMU's offense is this year. SMU's offense might be a little overrated, because if you had trouble scoring enough points against Nevada, and Nevada is not a good football team, okay? They are as mediocre or to below average as you can get. Oh, yeah, one more pick for tonight. Give me Colorado to beat North Dakota State tonight. Remember, we rode Colorado early in the year and we faded them the rest of the year, right? Well, Colorado is a team that has a much better offensive line this year than last year. So give me Colorado to cover. Certain books have it at 9.5. Some books have it 10.5. North Dakota State is not as good as they used to be. Ever since Chris Klieman left, their recruiting has been going down each and every year. They are not the FCS powerhouse that they used to be. So that's how I'm looking at it. Colorado to cover the spread tonight. I also like Colorado to cover the 5.5 wins this year. I think they could start the year probably 6-2 and then fade down the stretch. All right, thanks again to Pam Maldonado for joining us. Check out all of our coverage of college football, tennis, and more over at ESPN.com. I'll be back tomorrow night. Tomorrow on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Mainland Regional High School graduate Chase Petty will join us to talk about his charity tournament and what it's been like for him being a first-round pick playing in the minor leagues. That's tomorrow right here on 97.3 ESPN.
Saturday on ESPN Radio. College football is finally back.
Nobody's going to catch Nichols.
Singleton, 87 yards to the house.
8th-ranked Penn State storms into Morgantown to go head-to-head with the West Virginia Mountaineers.
Yeah, that's how I get by.
8th-ranked Penn State and West Virginia. Kickoff at noon Eastern.
It's College Football Saturday on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at noon.